Call the meeting to order. It is 5:48 p.m. and I think I'm looking at the wrong. This meeting is accessible to people with disabilities. Microphones or telephones will be used by all speakers. Large print materials are available upon advance request. If you would like either of these accommodations, please contact Mary Waldron at 508-583-1833. The notice of non-discrimination rights and protections to beneficiaries with regard to the federal Title VI non-discrimination protections and the state non-discrimination protections is posted in the meeting room at Old Colony Planning Council and is also available on Old Colony Planning Council website. Please contact Mary Waldron at 508-583-1833 for more information. Thank you. And with that,
I will do a roll call. Megan, just an FYI, someone was trying to join by Teams, so I don't know who it was, but if you can, oh, Brenda thinks it's Teams. Could you just reach out to Brenda to tell her it's Zoom? But I will do the roll call. Chair Coletta?
Here.
Lee Hartman?
Present.
Stephen Santusonio?
Present.
And for that right now, and then once we get any other members, so for staff members, it's Megan Fournier, Charlie Kilmer, and myself with Brenda Robeson, who will be joining us shortly.
Okay, so
The consent agenda.
okay, so the consent agenda, November 29th, 2022 meeting minutes and November financials. I'm sorry, Mary, this agenda item, is this to put these items on?
These are to be, so we can take these items, both the minutes and the financials, as consent. So we do not have to go through all the.
All through of them one by one. So do we have a motion to accept the meeting minutes and November financials?
I'll make that motion.
A second?
Lee Hartman, seconds.
Okay,
So on the motion, Becky Coletta,
yes.
Lee Hartman,
Yes.
Stephen Santusonio.
Yes.
Okay, at this point, we really can't get very far without Brenda, but we got some of the early stuff out of the way. I may have to leave a little early. We are choosing a new school board member in Pembroke tonight to replace someone who resigned. And so we have a joint school committee select board meeting.
So what I just did is I let Russell in, and Brenda, Megan, what I'll do is I'll get a hold of Brenda if you can just pull up the documents that Russell. Hi, Russell.
Hi, everyone.
Happy New Year.
You too. Hi, Mary.
And Megan, I'm going to just get a hold of Brenda. So if Megan, if you can just stay here with the group and then run through the slides. Thank you.
Okay, so Megan's going to put up the slide presentation from Russell on the audit. Megan? Oh, there it is. Okay, thank you for coming in tonight, Russell. And here is your presentation if you want to help us run through the financial statements and the audit.
Yeah, of course. You guys are ready for me now?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
Thank you for having us. We should, the summary is pretty short and sweet and to the point. So we can kind of just jump right into it. Excuse me. So we can go ahead and skip a couple of slides. Do I have control to skip slides?
Just say skip a couple slides. Megan's got the controls, so.
Okay, there we go. You can go back one. So we do essentially two audits. We audit your financial statements and we audit your compliance over federal awards. So the two major programs selected for 2022 is your agent cluster, as always, your EOEA grants. And this year we also selected your ombudsman grants as well. The agent cluster we select pretty much every year, and that's due to the size. For us to get coverage over your federal awards, we need to look at it. And then the ombudsman program, we just hadn't looked at maybe in the life of the audit. So we want to take a look at that one this year, just to kind of increase our assessment. You can go to the next slide. So the actual audit results on our financial statements, we do still have the qualified opinion for GASB 68. I reviewed the most recent valuation, and the valuation for OCPC has decreased from 3.3 to 2.1 million. So that's always a good sign. No deficiencies in internal control were identified, and no material non-compliance regarding the financial statements were identified. Our compliance audit, again, unmodified opinions on both programs, and no deficiencies in internal control or non-compliance identified. So here is this is your summary net position that you'll see in the MD&A part of the financials. So I'll just kind of walk through some of the highlights here. Current assets had a net increase with a reduction in cash. And the main reason for that net increase is because of the AR aging on your EOEA grants, which I'm sure is an internal discussion. So that definitely inflated accounts receivable for the year. Total liabilities increased, and the main attribute there was the OPEB valuation increased. I think it was, sorry, I can't see it right now. Yeah, your non-current liabilities there is picking that activity up. So the increase 179,000. Deferred outflows and inflows, those both increased this year. Again, that's due to your OPEB valuation. And also included in that calculation is billings in excess of cost and cost in excess of billings. And those two calculations are essentially just differences between the timing of billings and expenses on individual jobs and grants throughout the year. So you'll see those being reflected in deferred outflows and inflows. You have an increase in total net position at the end of the year. Again, sorry, my cameras are covering it. Of 375,000 is a total increase for net position. So operating revenues increased 450,000, and that was primarily due to federal grants in 2022, with a slight fluctuation in your state and local grants. Expenses increased basically in line with your federal grants, which makes perfect sense. That all kind of lines up. The increase in funding always increases your expenses. So really not nothing kind of jumps out at us from an audit perspective there. So is there any questions at this time for me?
And Russell, I had forwarded your email that you had sent to Brenda and myself, just explaining that these have not been had your internal review, but they are
Correct.
as solid as we have for right now for today's.
Correct. I'm very comfortable with them, but like I said, it is going to go through 2 more layers of review. But I obviously don't want to push back the dates. I know you wanted to make sure that we made these dates for the meetings. Right. So as I said, I'll just type up an email of any changes that happen. If they're just formatting changes, it's probably not necessary. But if we add any disclosures or any update any notes in the financials, I'll definitely type something up so you don't have to search for the differences.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Yep.
Well, the best thing to see on a financial audit is no modifications, and
right.
Essentially it doesn't sound like there are any concerns that you have, which is good. You know, we're obviously sad to have to move on from Markham, given the financials and where people are growing, but it's nice to end on a note where we feel like things are clean and ready to hand off to a new crew when that happens. So we appreciate the effort. Yep, and any help I can be in that transition, I'll obviously be available as much as you need me. And as you said, though, having no issues in compliance is always a really big win. It's very common to have findings and exceptions when you have federal grants. There's so many different compliance requirements, so that is a big positive. And I'll definitely be working with Brenda as you guys transition to a new auditor. And again, I apologize that it's kind of come to the situation that it's in where we need to move on. We just don't. We've really struggled to have the infrastructure to handle some of these different audits. We essentially have 2 government teams. One of them does housing authorities, and one of them does municipalities. And you guys kind of fall outside of those 2 structures.
So we just don't have the dedicated staff, and it's kind of become an issue for us to try and keep up with some of these. You guys aren't the only ones. We have 2 or 3 this year that we're kind of just deciding that it's time to let them go, which is unfortunate. Loved working with you guys, obviously. It's been a positive experience, I think, for everybody.
Brenda's crying towel is still out, so I'm just saying, that's all.
I know. And I'm sorry to hear that, obviously.
But obviously, we understand that as you start to specialize, it becomes, there's just a lot of moving pieces, and
Yep.
doesn't necessarily make sense to have a team or a team member who is constantly trying to keep up with things that they only use for one client.
Exactly, and that's the biggest thing, especially, I mean, I'm very comfortable with your aging program, but some of the other grants that you guys have, I don't typically see those. So there's other firms might have a better and deeper understanding and experience with those grants and can provide a better service. So that will be a big positive. And also in general, just the workload. We have so many clients that I think that I feel like I'm always coming up against the deadline. And so hopefully that will be that will help go in the right direction as well.
And
We
Madam Chair,
appreciate it.
Madam Chair, if I can just weigh in, just because Russell really has been, I know he was with the prior auditing firm and then continued on. It really has been a great relationship, and you've answered Brenda's questions as quickly as you can. It's a good communication. I mean, a lot of the things that we have learned from over the last 3 years with Markham has really become good, solid foundations for what we're looking for in our next auditor. The demand of how often, how available, how quickly. I mean, certainly we didn't get invited to your wedding, but that's, we know that that's like where the line gets drawn. But it really has become a family, and I know Brenda can speak for herself on this, but when it was talked about in a presentation, this is maybe a couple years ago, where we really wanted to become more of some of the, how do we begin to have that conversation about some next steps, and when we bring our financials to a finance and auditing committee and not just directly to council and the checks and balances. So all of those have really became strengthening our organization, and a credit to you, Russell, for working with us. So thank you on behalf of the staff.
Well, you're welcome, and I appreciate that. You guys did all the work, and you made tremendous improvements. I know from my first years on the audit, we had quite a bit to get through, but we've been in a great shape the past few years.
Well, thank you. Do we have any questions, or should we? Do we need Russell for the rest of the meeting, or should we let him?
Unless there's questions, I think that Brenda, did you want to just say a quick minute?
No, I just wanted to say thank you to Russell.
We'll see you again tomorrow.
Yeah, sounds good.
Thanks, Russell.
Thank you.
Thanks,
you.
guys.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Good night. And Madam Chair, with that, I believe that there is an action item that we do need to have the finance meeting make a formal recommendation to the full council.
To accept the results of the audit.
That is correct.
Okay, do we have a motion to accept the results of the audit for fiscal year 2022?
I'll make that motion. Stephen.
Thank you, Stephen. Second?
I think I heard Frank Staffier. So then on the motion,
Lee Hartman, I'll second, just like Frank, if you didn't hear Frank. Either way.
Thank you, Lee. Becky Coletta,
Yes.
Stephen Santusonio.
Yes.
I'm saying it wrong. Santusonio.
Yeah. Well, you said Brenda's last name wrong. You said Robeson and not Robinson. So we go get to work on that.
Lee Hartman
Yes.
and Frank Staffier.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yep.
Frank. It's unanimous.
Okay. So now we need our help from Brenda to review the December financials.
Correct.
Okay. First of all, at the beginning of the cheat sheet though. Okay, at the end of December, we were in good financial condition with a 5.5% budget surplus right up front. I will say that. At statement of expenditures report shows total expenses for the month of $266,585.73. The cash position report shows income for the month of $535,386.36. Disbursements for the month were $567,738.34. Total cash available at month's end was $1,223,049.62. OPEB, that's okay. OPEB had a loss of $9,441.47, bringing the ending balance at the end of the year in the OPEB account to $910,879.80. Keep waiting for it to get to $1 million. It goes up, it comes down, it goes up. Okay, budget resources report. Total receipts for the month being $535,386.36 brings the total year-to-date receipts to $2,179,877.84. The AAA report. Outstanding balance for AAA pass-through programs is $879,311.12. Outstanding balance for AAA admin and ombudsman programs is $127,350.34. This brings the total outstanding balance for all AAA programs at the end of December to $175,604.62.
No, wait a minute. That's the volunteer transportation balance.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The AAA
I'm
outstanding.
sorry.
is The 1 million.
My
Yep.
eyes dropped down to the wrong line. I'm so sorry. Outstanding balance for AAA admin and ombudsman program is $127,350.34. And I'm sorry, I completely dropped it off of my sheet. So the total of all AAA outstanding funds is $1,006,661.46. Okay, I apologize.
And Brenda, is that number of outstanding funds getting better or worse?
Oh, it's definitely getting better. They're catching up. They're getting
Okay,
to their normal behind instead of being ridiculously behind, which, as Russell just reported, it really threw off our accounts receivables big time.
okay.
So,
All
but
right, thank you.
anyway, no problem. Outstanding the voluntary transportation account, beginning balance was $176,195.32. Restricted funds payments to volunteers was $892.20. Donations received were $301.50, bringing the ending balance to $175,604.62. Okay, the ROM statement and activity. Receipts in December of $5,850 brings the total receipts to $35,100. Expenses in December of $10,244.62 brings the total expenses in December to $41,267. The ending statement balance in December was $175,570.70. Moving on to the budget spend down report. Total expenditures were $1,102,982. The spent to date percentage rate at the end of December was 44.5%. The ideal percentage in the 6th month of the fiscal year would be 50%. So at month's end, we had a 5.5% surplus. Page 2, budgeted income had no changes. Page 3, pass-through funds also had no changes. And then the last page of the report is the list of combined accounts payable and cash transfers for the month of December. And that's it for the financial report.
Any questions for Brenda? Do we have a motion to recommend acceptance of the December financial report?
I'll make that motion, Stephen.
Thank you, Stephen.
Lee Hartman, second.
Thank you. Roll call,
Becky Coletta,
yes?
Stephen Centosonia,
Yes,
Lee Hartman,
Yes,
and Frank Staffier.
can you hear him? Because I can't.
No,
I
I
didn't.
can't hear him. He was there visually and he's not.
Oh, Frank is muted right now. So Frank, you have to unmute yourself. I see a little,
And he's not muted.
oh, he's not,
No,
is that Megan's muted? Okay.
that is, yep. So it's with 3 and then we can record Frank on a side. Just must be something wrong with his audio.
Audio.
So Megan, we're gonna go jump to the rest of the agenda. Oh, thank you, Frank. Frank, give a thumbs up. Thank you, Frank.
So now the status of the audit proposals, I think we had talked about that briefly.
We did. Go ahead.
We just have one more meeting
Yes.
on Thursday night, and then we'll be able to bring the report back. Are we gonna have the same group on Thursday night, or are we gonna have a different group?
We have a slightly different group, I believe, but should be majority, I think, are Christine's gonna join us, Sandy's gonna join us, yourself, and I'm not sure about Val. Do we know about Val, Megan? Don't know yet. So close, we're close
Yes,
to.
I believe that she is
Okay.
attending.
So then we will have the same group.
The funny
we-
thing for the men on this meeting is that at the last meeting, we realized that all of the people on the Old Colony Planning Council side were women. Typically, we have quite a few men on all of our meetings. And so it was just kind of interesting that it was all women on the OCPC side. Anything else? So once we have the meeting on Thursday night, we'll be in a position to make recommendations, right, Mary?
That's correct.
Yes,
You
I would
didn't
like-
intimidate him too much, did you?
No,
I don't think so.
And I would really like to have a decision made so that I can contact the auditor next Monday or Tuesday so that I can get started. The audit is going to be ready to send to them, and I'm anxious to get started with getting the lists and sort of getting organized.
so what we'll do is I'll have Brenda prepare and we'll help Brenda with this and at least just a scoring sheet so we can all be consistent in how we are going to make those recommendations. And Brenda, I think it's going to be the selection committee and we may need to have a special meeting of the council to approve the auditor. So we're not going to wait till February. We'll look to start getting people's schedules so we can go back to the council to affirm. Is that, and I think that's going to be a question for the finance, is the finance committee going to feel comfortable with this selection committee? So it's Charlie, myself and Brenda, along with Becky and Christine and others to make to rely on our recommendations that we're going to put forward to council.
Is that okay with Steve and Lee and Frank?
Yeah.
I see Steve saying
Yep.
yes.
That's
Yeah.
fine with Lee.
Okay. All right, good, because I think I mean, obviously you guys will also be at the council meeting. If you have any questions or concerns, and you can let Mary know ahead of time also. But trying to schedule one meeting on a quick notice ad hoc is going to be hard enough.
Yes.
So I think that'll work better.
And Valerie has just joined us, so I just wanted to acknowledge. So the other items on the agenda,
Hi,
actually,
Valerie.
the other items, we really don't have much of an update because we've been working on the audit and all these other things have been on our plate, but the fiscal policies are still being reviewed. We have hired Doug. We're going to resume our conversations with Doug on an update and present those to the finance committee. Perhaps in February, we'll aim for it, but at the very least in March with the recommendations of some amendments to the fiscal policies. And then on the OPEB declaration of trust, I have reached out to let's see, Toomey Lane, I'm missing something. What's a big, but to the
Murphy,
attorney-
Hesse?
Murphy, thank you. I knew I was missing a name. And to help us with the next steps of that declaration of trust and what our next steps will be. So that is gathering the members to then be the voting members to then decide on the next steps for the declaration of trust.
Okay, do we have anything else that folks want to bring up tonight, or?
I know, Mary, I think when we had that meeting a couple of weeks ago about the kind of the milestone.
Yes.
goals, I thought a lot of us were, I think we're on that call already. So I don't know if you wanted to us to meet.
I can give an update. Thank you,
Okay.
Steve. It is
Ah.
one of the things that we were going to bring it up today, but with the audit and a couple of the other items, and we still have some time. So Stephen and others, we're
Right.
calling it longevity. And I think in Brenda's note, we might have even talked about it, but it is to establish a incentives for employees to continue to work at OCPC. And it's on a 5, 10, 15, every 5-year increment on their anniversary date, that a one-time bonus, if you will be is being proposed. And we're looking to have this be taken effect July 1st. One of the things that Brenda has done is that we're looking at our finances, and we do have that room. So it's not like it's not a one and then carry on each year. It's a one-time bonus for continue to stay on at OCPC. And there are increments, and what we can probably do, if you would like, for the next finance meeting in February, in advance of that, we'll put the proposed timeframe. Brenda had worked on a little bit on the different percentages and what that might mean. But I'm not quite sure if we really got to finish that, Brenda, with us looking at it internally.
Yeah, I don't know. I know that the percentage graph was attached actually in this meeting. We just,
Right.
yeah, there it is. And just to give you everybody just a quick update on what this graph means, based on a 2% or a 3% bonus, if you will, in 2023, there would be 3 employees, and for the whole annual amount that it would cost the company would be $7,200. In 2024, the annual amount would be $6,800. So I looked at the employees across the board to figure out who would hit an anniversary, so that I could total what the amount of those bonuses would be in the course of a year. So as you can see, there's really not a big financial impact on any year. The biggest one happens in 2025, and that one's pretty minimal if you're looking at an annual total. And that's even at the 3%. So that's what this graph is doing, just so you all can see that.
So I think if we have this, then we would be ready to make a decision on it fairly quickly, Mary. What is your thinking, that we would do it as part of the budget process, or that we would do it in the next month and get it going?
I would say if we have a majority of the finance committee, I think proposing it and moving forward, feel very comfortable. Brenda, Charlie, and I, again, internally talked about this, and extremely comfortable with proposing this. We're looking to sustain our employees. It's getting to be a tougher market out there, and feel that this is just an added. And obviously you can see the totals yourself between the 2% versus a 3%. And I think in today's world, again, this is a one-time bonus on it's a longevity, right? So you're here on their anniversary date, and I think there's 2 employees that, because we're starting this July 1st, that it would affect, but we would bring them in. We would retrospectively include them in this in the July 1st budget.
Well, if we have room in the budget, and apparently we do, if we're still running 5.5%
We are.
below
Mhm.
where we would be at the end of December, is this something we could just make a motion to move forward to the council tonight?
That would be appreciated.
And I would ask if anyone wants to make a motion. I'm thinking at the 3%.
Is that set in stone, or, I mean, I don't want to make more work, but I mean, it's like say it's 3%. I was at 5, and maybe 10 years, maybe go up a little, or you just want to keep it 3%, just say.
So I would recommend that we keep it at this, Stephen. It's
Yeah.
first of all, to not only calculation, it's not the
Yeah.
bottom line why we do this, but this is presumably that our employees continue to grow with our company, that they will continue to get merit increases every year. This is notwithstanding merit increases based upon employees' performance. And in addition to this, I have to tell you, with Don Sullivan coming on board, he is going to bring in more money to this organization. That I think to the point, I mean, not unprecedented, but it's so our comfort level of providing that. And so if you're thinking of having us do it on a, again, higher percentage, I think this is something that can be evaluated on a yearly basis.
Yeah, there was just something to throw out. I mean, I'm fine with 3. So, I mean,
So what I would recommend is that we propose this going forward. The Personnel Committee in 2024 review where this is and the financial impact, and then make the recommendation to the Finance Committee in 2024. See
Okay.
where that shakes out in the first 6 months or 8 months that when we're preparing next year's budget.
sounds good.
So does the Personnel Committee need to look at this again, or are we free right now to ask for a motion to have a longevity?
I believe the Personnel Committee had put forward that for Brenda to look at the numbers and to have it be presented for tonight.
Okay, I couldn't remember because I actually sat in on that call. So
Yes.
can I get a motion to approve longevity? I hesitate to call them increases. Could we get a motion to have longevity payments of 3% at every 5-year anniversary date?
Frank Staffier had his thumbs up. Thank you, Frank.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call?
Becky Coletta,
Yes.
Stephen Santisonio,
Yes.
Lee Hartman,
yes,
and Frank Staffier. Thank you, Frank. Oh, Val Massard. Sorry, Val.
No.
Thank you. That's unanimous.
Okay, great. So I think that actually, surprisingly enough, even with that added item, I think that finishes our agenda for the night. So we'll see each other tomorrow night, but if there's a motion to adjourn, I would entertain that at this time. Stephen,
I'll make that motion.
And
Thank
Frank
you.
just put his thumb up.
so Frank seconds, all in favor? Aye.
aye.
Okay, have a good night, guys.
See you
Thank you,
tomorrow.
everybody. Thank
Bye
you.
now.
Tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.